It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Sproles, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Full Court Press here on a Thursday. Hope you had a happy Pioneer Day or Pie and Beer Day, however you celebrate it. Hope you still have all of your fingers. We've got a lot to go over on today's show. We've got news potentially about Taylor Funk. Top 25 Aggies of the 2024 football season. We're up to number 23 on the reveal. Bobby Wagner in the NFL Top 100. That's nothing new, but he's in there once again. We'll talk about that as well. And we've also got Pick 6, so certainly a lot on our plate. Although first and foremost, we have another guest from Utah State basketball today. We're going to continue to have these interviews weekly for the next little while with members of the men's basketball team. Last week we had on Dayton Albury, one of the newcomers, and this week we've got head coach Jerrod Calhoun on the line. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be on with you today.
So I know we're planning on having these weekly interviews, although we'll have to take a bit of a break because you guys are going to Europe upcoming soon. I want to talk about that. It's kind of somewhat recent news. Like, tell us about how that comes together and what that process will be like for you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. Today is our third practice, so you get 10 practices before you get to go compete in 3 competitions. So we'll play 1 in Rome, 2 in Croatia. These trips are available to college teams every 4 years. So the trip was already planned before we got here. We've made a few minor adjustments, but excited about this opportunity with these guys to go through the practices, see how we look in the games, and then have a chance to correct it and get, ready for the fall.
Have you ever done one of these trips before with one of your teams in the past?
Yeah, this will be my third. So we were in Spain last year, been to Italy a couple times. So, I've been part of these, and I think we've done a really good job so far with our prep, throwing a lot at our guys. Certainly on the offensive side, just to kind of see who can retain and process information. So it's been really good so far.
So before we get too much into the team, I just want to ask, what the last 3-ish months have been like for you since you signed on with the team, building a team together. You had to bring in, I think, 9 newcomers, build a coaching staff. What has this been like for you going through this process of putting together a staff and a team?
Yeah, it's exciting. I've done it 3 times now. Certainly, hopefully I'm better, this time around. But, getting the staff together was really, really exciting. Able to bring some guys over with me, and then also some, really added some guys that I think provide great value, to our staff. I think staff cohesion is really, really important in today's environment. I think the kids feed off of that. And then being able to identify some guys that had some different recruiting ties to different areas has been really, really good. And then the process to develop a team, obviously we're very, very fortunate to retain 5 players. Those kids have been absolutely awesome in their approach every day and their leadership. Them being part of a tremendous basketball team last year and great success, I think they've done a really good job of helping our new guys, not only on the court, but off the court. So I think, all in all, very, very pleased with where we're at.
So what can you tell me about the staff? You mentioned the importance of staff cohesion and all that. What can you tell me about the guys you have on your coaching staff and what they bring to the table, what they're going to bring to the table for this team?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, great people. They're great to be around. They're fun to be around. They bring a lot of energy each day, and then very knowledgeable. Certain guys will work on different sides of the basketball, but the chemistry has been really good. We've had a lot of long hours, a lot of basketball talks, watched a lot of film, really starting to understand what we need to be successful in this conference. And that's balance, right, on both sides of the floor. We've got to be a great offensive team that's really efficient, that, gets to the free throw line, be able to get some easy baskets from our defense. And, I think defensively we'll play a defense that's not something you see every day, right? A matchup zone that I think could be really, really good with our length and our size. So, that's really what the staff brings. We're right in the middle of recruiting. We want to add 2 to 3 high school players for next year's roster. So we'll start bringing those recruits in here in the next couple weeks. And, that's exciting as well.
Coach, as you're getting your guys together and kind of an accelerated tune-up with your team because you're heading to international play, how is the health of your team and how well are they kind of adapting to these all this new stuff that you're trying to throw at them?
Yeah, certainly there's a learning curve, right? There are some similarities of how last year's team played and this year's team played. But, obviously last year's emphasis was to get the ball inside, to grade Osabor, obviously get Darius in a ball screen. I think, with our group, we have multiple guys on the perimeter that can get downhill and create for themselves and then also play out of pick and rolls. I do think we'll have ability to take and make a lot of threes, with Isaac Johnson and Tucker Anderson and really even Albin and Carson Templin have really, really made great strides in that department. So, the best teams, I think, are the teams that can win, on their non-shooting nights. So teaching the guys to understand how to cut off-ball spacing is really, really important to a good offense. And then certainly offensive rebounding. We've got to be a relentless offensive rebounding team. So those are some of the things that we've worked on here early. Like I said, we're only in practice 3. We'll have 7 more before we leave. And we're not going to be perfect. We understand that going over there. This is a very, very fast trip. But I think it's really good because we can get a lot of our concepts in the way we want to play basketball and our identity kind of established, hopefully, through the summer.
And just to follow up, just the health of your guys so far.
Pretty good. We've had some nicks and bumps and bruises, but a couple guys have missed here and there, but nothing substantial, which is good.
So, Coach, when you came here to Utah State in your opening press conference, you talked about how, if you run it back, you have a chance to win a national championship. Unfortunately, not everybody ran it back. Some players graduated, some players ended up transferring. But at this point, after pretty much all the dust has settled recruiting-wise, what kind of expectations do you have for this team going into the season?
Well, I think, every team is different. The expectation for us is to be at our best every day. I think that's what leads to great success, right? You're not really putting a limit on your team. I think the best teams get better throughout the season. So we've got to continue to get better, not only in the summer, but in the fall. We have to learn from what happened in those games this summer that we're getting ready to play, correct some of those things, and just really be at our best. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about getting in the NCAA tournament, playing your best basketball in March. And that's, there's so many layers to that, right? In the non-conference, we always talk about 3 different seasons, right? The non-conference is critical. I think we've challenged ourselves. We'll see where the numbers are, but certainly have played a really, really good schedule with, Iowa neutral, South Florida coming in here at St. Mary's, a very good MTE in Orlando. We still have 1 game to get, still figuring out that process. So the non-conference will be very challenging. And then obviously I think anybody that follows the Mountain West knows that this league's coming off a record year. So you're expecting another great season inside the league. So what we do in the non-conference and then during league play will ultimately determine our fate for postseason. Obviously there's a postseason tournament, conference tournament, so you want to be playing well in that. Hopefully you're not putting yourself in a position where you have to win it. But I don't think anybody's ever safe, right? Nobody ever really feels great until you hear your name called. So, and then, ultimately you got to advance in the NCAA tournament. I've been pretty fortunate to be part of a Sweet 16 team and a Final Four team. So that's the goal, is to get these guys better every day and be playing great basketball come March.
And we're talking to Utah State men's basketball head coach Jerrod Calhoun. You mentioned the Mountain West coming off a strong year, and that's something I actually wanted to bring up. I know you weren't necessarily in the Mountain West last year, but as you mentioned, great season. It was 4 or 5 teams in the NCAA tournament. But I was kind of going through looking at each of the teams, and I think you can argue that all but maybe 2 of the teams lost their best player in one way or another, transfer portal, graduation. So it seems like a lot of these teams kind of maybe peaked last year. How do you feel like the Mountain West will be able to bounce back from losing a lot in terms of off-season attrition?
Yeah, that happens every year, right? With the landscape today, most of the teams are going to have new rosters, but things don't change, right? The Steve Alford can really coach, Nico can really coach, Richard Pitino can really coach, Coach Dutch can really coach, right? These are programs, Leon Bryce, these are programs that have been really, really good for a long time. So it's not their first rodeo. Those programs are going to be able to survive those losses. And I look for this league to continue to get better. Last year was 6 bids. Hopefully we can keep that pace. There's certainly, conference realignment and those sorts of things. But hopefully collectively our conference can take care of business in the non-conference, right? We got to, do our part, but we also got to root for the other teams to have great success. So, new stars emerge. I think that's what fans have to get used to. We're not going to talk about the guys we lost. Obviously, we know Great Osobor is a great player. He was the conference player of the year. Darius Brown was a great player, right? But at the end of the day, you got to move on. It's a new group. I'm excited to see Mason's growth, Ian's growth, Isaac Johnson's growth, Carson Templin's growth. And then all the guys we're able to bring in can really play. So I think we'll be very, very different. There's no doubt about it. But we just got to keep getting better. That's really the name of the game.
Talk about you mentioned your non-conference schedule, and we've been talking about the conference play as well. Sometimes when there's a new coach and a lot of new players on a team, we see either here or in other places sometimes a philosophy of let's schedule some games to figure out who we are and get comfortable and confident, and then get into conference play. But we also see sometimes coaches come in and challenge their teams and try to put together non-conference schedules that will work for their benefit in net rankings and better position themselves in when it comes to March and Selection Sunday. What was your philosophy coming in? Some of these games were beyond your control because they were already in past agreements. But what's your philosophy when you're looking at your non-conference schedule with a lot of new guys particularly?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best question you've asked. Obviously, recruiting and scheduling are 2 critical pieces to any successful program. So, I've done our schedule personally for a number of years. I don't leave it up to an assistant. Obviously, some of the assistants will do some of the legwork on the phone calls, but I think a head coach has to have really a good idea of what is out there, what we need to do to be successful, to put ourselves in a good position. So we've studied every team in this conference, right, from last year's Boise State's non-league to New Mexico's, right? Those were 2 very interesting studies. Boise played a tremendous non-league schedule, and I think it helped them, get in the tournament. Now, I do think some of the tournament seeds last year were not where they needed to be for whatever reason. But, we wanted to challenge ourselves. I'm not in the belief of playing a cupcake schedule. I think you have to challenge yourself. You have to play some quad 1 games. I think we certainly have 2 of those at St. Mary's and Iowa. We've got to hope that these 2 or 3 other games are quad 2s. right? Ultimately, that's what you want to play, quad 1 and quad 2s. You do have to have some success in some home games. I think everybody out there understands how hard it is to get games here at Utah State, to get opponents coming in. So I thought the South Florida series was really good, trying to possibly add another one with the November 9th date. But also I think you have to understand when you win 28 games and win a regular season title and the numbers look pretty good, whether it's Bartorvik or any of these other analytical sites, it's hard to get games, right? So you got to work really, really hard on the schedule. But I'm a big believer in we've got to go out and play people and beat people, because ultimately it's about the tournament seed, right? How do you get to a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 or a Final Four? You have to have a really good seed. If you look at, what Florida Atlantic or San Diego State did, those teams really, really played people in the non-league, which helped them in their seeding. So that's going to be probably my philosophy every year.
So, Coach, you always talk a lot about seeding, and with the Mountain West, it wasn't maybe as high as some of those teams would have wanted it. What do you feel like the factors were in that? If there are any that can be identified, why maybe Boise State was a 10 seed or Colorado State was in the play-in, why some of these teams weren't as high as they maybe wanted.
I don't know that. We had a head coaches meeting. We actually had 2 committee members on the call. I think a lot of the coaches in that room, my understanding, certainly did not agree, with the seating whatsoever. So, I think we just got to do the best we can do, challenge ourselves. And, you got to beat those people. Ultimately, you got to go win some quad 1 and quad 2 games, but every year is different, right? Every tournament looks different. Teams are different. Unless I was on that committee, I don't know if I'd be able to answer that. But me, from looking from the outside in, even last year, I thought a lot of these teams were undervalued on the seed line for sure.
Coach, I got to ask you. I mean, you've only been on the job a couple of months, and there's turmoil in the athletic department. I don't know how well you knew or interacted with some of the individuals that have been affected in the last month, but what's it been like being a coach in everything else that's been going on that campus here lately?
Yeah, obviously, I only met Coach Anderson 2 or 3 times. So I've talked to him just a couple times in person when I saw him. And then I worked pretty closely with Jerry Bovee really for about 3 weeks. I think that was about the number, 3 to 4 weeks. So it just you don't want to see any university, any sort of turmoil, with people. I'm a people person, so I hate to see people going through this. I think it's really, really tough. But we'll, see what happens. And, really we've been so busy with our trip and getting ready for these recruits coming in the next 3 weeks. So, but certainly have heard what's going on. That's for sure.
We're talking to Utah State men's basketball head coach Jerrod Calhoun. I know we're coming up against our time limit. We got to get you off to practice, but I wanted to talk about at least one of the players. I wish we could talk about every single player and go through with this, but one player you mentioned, Mason Falslev, obviously kind of a big magnifying glass on him just because he's the local kid, went to high school around here. Obviously a very exciting freshman year for him. And when we talk about him, it's always, he's going to get better and he's going to improve. And I guess let's ask your opinion on, what areas do you feel like he's going to be taking those step forwards? What parts of his game are we going to be able to see those improvements as he tries to make a rise through the collegiate ranks?
Yeah, I think in all aspects. I think, he works so hard and plays so hard and shows up every day. He's very, very reliable, right? So what you're going to get out of Mace every day. He's been our most consistent player from the time I got here up until now. Certainly that can change, but he's been absolutely awesome in his approach. I think he comes in with a great mindset every day to get better. He's just a competitor. He's a guy that, can get a defensive rebound and drive coast to coast. He's a guy that you can isolate in the half court. I think you can post him up. I think his shooting percentages and his confidence will go up. He has a ton of equity built up in this program, right? Same thing with Ian, same thing with Isaac. Those three guys played a ton of meaningful minutes. Same thing with Carson Templin. So I think as those guys continue to get more comfortable with our system, there'll be some, learning curve certainly, but we like to give guys freedom on the offensive end, and I think he's done a wonderful job in improving in all aspects of his game.
Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate your time. I know it's a busy time of the year, but exciting to hear about how this team is coming together. And best of luck, and hope travel well when you head to Italy. It's kind of a strange time to travel right now, but hopefully that all gets sorted out and everything is going smoothly for you guys when you head to Europe here in a couple of weeks.
Well, guys, listen, thanks for having me, and anytime you want us on, we'd love to chat with you guys, and go Aggies.
Thanks, Coach. Again, Jerrod Calhoun, head coach of the Utah State men's basketball program, as they'll be heading to Europe August 9th, and a couple of games over there, and we'll be checking in with the men's basketball team throughout the season. Quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. We'll be right back.
Daryl's Appliance Service and Sales is the only place in Cache Valley where you can apply your service trip fee if you decide you want a new appliance instead. This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. We want your appliance repair to be easy. Save time and money because we have everything you need under one roof. Appliance service and sales and more. You always get the best appliance repair team in northern Utah and southern Idaho. And if you decide to buy a new instead, just apply the repair fee to your new appliance. See store for details only at Daryl's Appliance West on Airport Road.
Les Olson IT's structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olson IT.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
Summer in Cache Valley is beautiful, and the Sportsman on Main Street has all your bike needs covered. Get your bike in now for service or a tune-up. We can usually get your service done in about 2 days. Be ready for the beautiful riding days ahead. If you need a new bike, we have kids to adult full suspension mountain bikes and e-bikes for around town or the mountains. From bikes to helmets to locks and clothing, come and see us at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan for all your biking needs.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
You know you recognize that song. I'm talking to you, class of 1976. Hi, this is Rusty Allen with LSS Insurance, and turning 65 means it's time to talk Medicare. LSS is here to help. Call 752-9493 for help with Medicare. As your local agent, we will research benefits, costs, and look up prescriptions so there aren't any surprises at the pharmacy. Call LSS at 752-9493.
Adams Wealth Advisors tailors your future with expert in-house help. You need a CPA? No problem. Legal help? They can do that. And of course, certified financial planners with years of experience watching over every move.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Many thanks to Utah State men's basketball head coach Jerrod Calhoun for joining us on the Full Court Press. I'm glad we could have him on, and solid 20 minutes of talking with him, myself, Jason Walker, and Eric Frandsen here on the Full Court Press.
Yeah, obviously I would have loved to ask more details about his reactions or evaluations, maybe that's a better term, evaluations of the players and how they're mixing together. But as he repeated over a number of occasions of our interview, they've only had 3 practices.
Yeah.
And most of those are drills. And I mean, yes, there are running practices to get ready for their trip to Europe where they will play games, but it's very fresh, very raw. So, I mean, you did ask about Mason, and there were. I'm with you. I would have loved to talk more about player evaluations, but it's really early in the process, and I don't know that he would be able to give us very much other than just very, superficial early reactions. So, I mean, I would love to have a follow-up conversation with Coach Calhoun maybe in a month after their trip, and find out what he's seeing from his team.
Yeah. I have probably an entire other interview's worth of questions that I could have asked him. I think me and you both. And 2444, I know you sent these in. We technically pre-recorded that segment, so I know you sent in your text earlier with a bunch of different questions, some of which were questions that I had some form of on my own list, though we didn't get to asking things like, which players have made the most improvements, who's in contention for point guard. I was thinking point guard and power forward are kind of my two positions of note, and a bunch of, even scheduling questions about the St. Louis series kind of falling apart where it was supposed to be a home and home, but it's not. That the return trip to Logan got canceled, whether St. Mary's is part of a new home and home series. But there's a host of other questions we could have asked. Unfortunately, we couldn't ask. I don't think we got any of the ones that 2444 specifically wanted. But as I mentioned during the interview, we are planning on having regular interviews with the men's basketball team, basically on a weekly basis is the plan right now. There'll obviously be a gap there for a second as they go to Europe.
Right. But Coach Calhoun and his staff, they've been great to work with us to make these happen, and appreciate his availability today. Unfortunately, it needed to be earlier in the day based on his time and his availability, so we couldn't do it live, and some of these questions that came in were technically after our interview with him, but questions to note and keep in mind for the next time we have an opportunity.
And really quick, we do need to get to the top 25 Aggies of 2024. We'll get to that, but kind of on the note here, 9-5 asking, are the games in Europe televised? And I actually went ahead and just texted someone in the athletic department basically asking that question, because I'd had the same question, and the answer I got back was that as of right now, there's no plans for that. There will be. They'll send our social media teams, their videographers, to have highlights, so there'll be some taste of Aggie basketball, but we're not going to have the entire games for us to try and dissect.
These are exhibition games. They don't count for anything. These are exhibitions not only for Utah State, but also the teams that are hosting them. So it's not like it's a major televised event.
Yeah, it's
even a minor televised event.
The best you can get is if somebody sets up a camera. If you know somebody in in Italy or in Croatia, that's what it was, right?
Right.
In Croatia, just go to the game and just set up a little tripod and stream the game if they'll let you.
Yeah, there might be something that materializes somewhere, but if it is, it's probably on some international site. But I don't know. We'll see if anything else happens. We'll try to find out if anything materializes before the games happen, but I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah. All right, but with that said, let's go into the top 25 Aggies of 2024 with our number 23 reveal on the list.
We continue to count down the Cache Valley Media Group's top 25 Aggies of 2024 with our number 23 ranked Utah State Aggie football player, junior defensive tackle Bo Maile. Bo is the nephew of former Utah State assistant coach Frank Maile, wears the number 44 and is entering his 4th season with the Aggies. Maile has appeared in 22 games across his redshirt freshman and sophomore seasons. In those 2 years, Maile accumulated 12 tackles and 1 sack, with a career-high 3 tackles coming in 2 of last year's games, at Iowa and against Fresno State. The number 23 player in the top 25 Aggies of 2024, Bo Maile.
Yes, Bo Maile. He's been with the team for a little while. Hasn't accumulated a ton of stats. Granted, it's through his redshirt freshman and sophomore seasons, but despite not getting a ton of stats, which that's kind of the way defensive tackles are, he's appeared, as was said, 22 games across, again, freshman and sophomore. Getting on the field as a freshman and sophomore can be impressive in and of itself.
Yes.
So he's been part of the defense, hasn't played a huge role, but this is the kind of season you're looking for him to take that big step forward. You kind of saw Hale Motuapuaka do this, where he kind of appeared in his redshirt freshman, sophomore season, then he was taking bigger and bigger steps forward, and perhaps Bo Maile can have the same kind of career trajectory where limited snaps as a freshman, sophomore, and this is the year to kind of take his big jump potentially.
Yeah, here's a guy who played 11 games his redshirt freshman season, played 11 games his sophomore season. So he's got, as you said, a lot of snaps, a lot of opportunity to be on the field. But now is a time for him to step into a larger role. And this is what we've seen. There's a pattern of guys who get opportunities as young players early on, at least getting on the field, making some impact here and there. But then when it comes into their junior and senior seasons, the gates are open for them to really burst through and have a bigger impact. And that's kind of what I'm expecting here from Bo Maile. Great last name, comes from a great family of football junkies and talented players. And here's a guy who can have an impact on that front line defensively and really help bring some experience to that front line that needs some experience and needs some ability. And here's a guy too has good size too. He's 6'2", 290 pounds, not too heavy, but big enough to have some effect on opposing offensive linemen.
Yeah, and he's been adding that bulk. Like the last couple of years, I think he's been in like the 260, 270 range, like gradually building that bulk throughout the last few seasons. And so it's, he's adding muscle, adding good weight, football-wise. And so he's going to be able to play the position more effectively. It's not going to cut into his speed a ton, this added weight. And so, yeah, this is a guy who can have an impact on the interior defensive line. And there's a lot of guys that Utah State has added on that interior defensive line. But something I've seen over the last couple of years is you get excited about these incoming defensive tackles, but a lot of the times it's the guys in-house who still end up, rising to the top. It's kind of the way it was last year. They added a bunch of new players and barely any of the new defensive tackles saw time. It was the guys who were on the team still had familiarity with the program. They were the ones who stayed at the top of the depth chart. And perhaps Bo Maile can do the same. There were a couple departures. Hale Motuapuaka graduated. Pekesi Vakauta, he transferred. So there's room on that depth chart for him to rise up and take a bigger role.
Yeah, so excited for his potential and his impact. Somebody who has experience within the Aggie system, familiar with opponents and different situations. Granted, it's a different defensive philosophy a little bit, but how he can help impact the game is something that apparently enough people are excited about to list him at number 23 on our list.
Yeah, definitely. So again, number 23 on the top 25 Aggies of 2024, it's Bo Maile. Let's get to a couple of texts before we go to break. 8968 says, I don't know which is worse, the mess on the Hill or this year's presidential election. They're both quite disgusting. Yeah, if you want to know about the mess on the Hill, we'll have that here. If you want to hear about the presidential election, switch on over to KVNU. I'm sure you'll hear all about that.
Spot, yes.
You got the other Jason, or am I the other Jason? Because he was here before me.
That's true. Then 5338, time for a small correction of FCP misinformation. During your hockey discussion a couple days ago, you mentioned that Ryan Smith was a native Utahn. That's not technically correct. He was born and grew up in Oregon before coming to Utah for college and ended up staying. So I didn't know that. For some reason, I had it in my head that he had grown up here, and because I thought he did junior jazz when he was younger, but apparently
I didn't
don't
know
his biography.
I didn't know, and that's why I posed the question to you and JD. I couldn't remember if he grew up here. I mean, he started his business here, right? The business
his dad was doing things, and he started his business here. Went to BYU, stayed in Utah County, and became part of the Silicon Slopes group there of all the different tech that's going on in that area of the state.
So apologies for the misinformation. Thank you, 5338.
Yes, always steering
for
us in the
helping
right direction.
Text line keeping us honest here on the Full Court Press. We got to take a break. Some news, potential news. I'm not 100% sure if it's verified. I need to try and dig into it. But we talked about Taylor Funk maybe getting a 2-way contract with the Washington Wizards. That may be happening. We'll also get into some other honors. A couple of Utah State players receiving some preseason honors as those start getting underway. The preseason watch list season. Also, Bobby Wagner getting in on the preseason awards as obviously a former Aggie in the NFL. But we'll get to that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Make it 4 years in a row. Advanced Heating and AC is honored to be named the gold medalist for the best of Northern Utah in the AC HVAC category. You have many choices when it comes to your home's heating and air conditioning system. Make sure you choose the gold medal winning company, Advanced Heating and AC. Call 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat and the Allergy Clinic now have an office located inside the Miller Medical Building in Tremonton. Every Friday, Northern Utah's premier ear, nose, and throat medical physicians and staff will provide Box Elder County a better option to be seen. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat and the Allergy Clinic are now located in Tremonton. Save time, schedule your appointment today. Go to CacheValleyENT.com. That's CacheValleyENT.com for details. Most insurance products, including SelectMed, are accepted.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Girls, us guys are always trying to score some brownie points, but we need all the help we can get. So dropping some subtle hints is helpful, such as your favorite food is Italian, you love the color green, and you want the ring from Jerrod's Fine Jewelry, the place with the bright green cars on 930 North Main Street. Okay, so it might not be so subtle, but that's okay. Remember, we need the help. Make it special, make it Jerrod's. Now remember, just tell him it's the place with the bright green cars.
Let Prodigy Brewing deliver a delicious experience of flavor and fun into your world. Enjoy Cache Valley's juiciest burgers, tastiest nachos, and flavor-filled wood-fired pizzas and award-winning specialty craft beers. Did you know that Prodigy Brewing now has a 20-minute lunch guarantee? From 11 to 3 p.m., they promise to get your meal to you within 20 minutes after you order, or it's free. So whether it's a quick lunch, dinner with the family, Sunday brunch, or Trivia Tuesdays, let Prodigy Brewing introduce you to deliciousness. Prodigy Brewing on Center Street in downtown Logan.
Since 1990, the Logo Shop has been your source for customized logoed items for businesses, teams, and booster clubs. The Logo Shop can customize your logo on thousands of items. When it's important to make an impression, have the Logo Shop embroider your logo on apparel from Nike, Travis Mathew, OGO, North Face, Under Armour, and Carhartt. Team shirts, uniforms, pens, water bottles, clocks, rugs, golf balls. The Logo Shop can put your logo on anything.
The Logo Shop, the logo stuff, the Logo Shop.
Following the local teams, it's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Life is good. Life at My Mattress is good too. Why might I say that? Because today is a good day to slay a Goliath. The other day I went into a mattress store.
Imagine your wedding. Elegant.
Who do you turn to if you...
Aegis Home Health.
Wouldn't be a day at the Full Court Press without me screwing up something. Managed to play the next commercial break as we were supposed to come back. So
that's always fun.
Gonna have to fix that when we come back. I don't think it's completely fixed. I may have to ask Will to come in here or something. Getting to the Full Court Press text line 93015 asking, is there conference realignment news? There's a lot of smoke going around about the Big 12 potentially looking to, munch on the ACC. There was some guy talking about Oregon State and Washington State getting into the Big 12. Of course, they've been praying for that ever since the Pac-12 fell apart. They just are praying they get in the Big 12 at this point. It's kind of their last shot at getting into the cool kids club. That are trying to rebuild the Pac-12, but nothing really concrete as of right now. Just a lot of reporting, a bunch of people saying things are going to happen, trying to project the future, and they may very well be right. I have no sources that would indicate otherwise. I just feel like it'd be weird for the Big 12 to literally just double its numbers, just go to 24 teams, just call it the Big. That's just it. The big conference. That's what they just call themselves, the Big Conference.
The Big Conference.
So, a bunch of little pieces of news to go over.
Well, just on that note, really, the only thing with conference realignment is just whatever happens of the ongoing lawsuits going on with in the ACC, and until those really, get resolved one way or the other, I don't think there's going to be anything. I would expect to see something soon with the Mountain West and Oregon State and Washington State, at least in terms of scheduling for next year, because we heard at Mountain West Media Days 2 weeks ago, that they were working on something and they expected to have an announcement before this season kicks off. So I think they continue to work closely together, and that may be a bit of a signal of maybe more of what's to come. Maybe it's just another delay of the inevitable, or it's just we're only going to do this 1 year at a time until we see how the rest of the college football landscape shakes out.
Yeah. So let's quickly move on to a couple of other topics. This is something that I noticed. It was after we actually talked about this because we mentioned, Taylor Funk, his great summer league where he had a couple of iffy games at the beginning, but closed it off by averaging like 18 points in his last 3-4 games of summer league, including a 29-point performance where he made 8 3-pointers in the summer league finale for the Washington Wizards, and how that may get him a 2-way contract, which would be a step up from where he was last year, where he was basically just signed with the G League team. 2-way contracts, you'll tend to end up playing in the G League a lot anyway, because it's basically a kind of a roster exception where sometimes you can be promoted to the main roster. You may not play very much, but it's only a certain number of games you're allowed to be on the full-time roster, and then you would spend usually the rest of the season or most of the season playing with the G League team. But it's a chance to be on the main roster and potentially get NBA minutes. I mean, Nemish Keta worked his way up from a 2-way contract to where he is right now. So for Taylor Funk, that's certainly a hope, and the Washington Wizards had one more 2-way contract roster spot to use. You get 3. Actually, it used to be 2, now it's 3. And there was at least one report, and this came out before we actually talked about it on the Full Court Press, but saying that the Washington Wizards are going to use that final 2-way contract slot on Taylor Funk. Now, it comes from Christos Saltas, I don't know how to say this, of Sportle, but I can't speak to the
legitimacy.
The legitimacy. That's the word I was looking for. I was thinking like viability. Like that word doesn't
that works
work
too.
I can't speak to the legitimacy of the source. Of course, he has a larger following on social media than I do, which is usually a decent indication of reputability. But I haven't seen anybody else. I was starting to watch like the official NBA transactions list to try and get another source, since I don't know this source particularly well. It'd certainly be great news for Taylor Funk. That'd be absolutely amazing for him to be able to make that improvement up. I should say John Hollinger replied to somebody and said Taylor Funk is getting a 2-way. Is that count as a second source?
That sounds pretty good. That is a reputable source.
Yeah, it seems to be an indication that Taylor Funk is going to get the Washington Wizards' final two-way slot. They had two other players sign a two-way contracts. Taylor Funk may very well be the third. So that'd be pretty big news for him.
Yeah, NBA.com wrote something about Funk, particularly his performance in his last game, where he had 29 points on 8 of 18 shooting. He was 8 for 16 from downtown. But he also added 5 assists and 4 rebounds. Receiving high praise for how he performed later in Summer League. It was a little bit of a slow start, but he gained momentum as it went, as he gained more confidence and being more comfortable in the setting as he continued to shine. And certainly performing well when it matters to get attention and potential opportunities to play in the NBA.
Yeah, that's what he needs. He needs that confidence because his NBA skill is being a 6'9" 3-point shooter, which is valuable. People want those kind of players. So being able to live up to that, be consistent. You're going to have off shooting nights. That's going to happen. And really, it seemed like that's what it was. He had one night where he went 1 for 6, another night where he didn't play a whole lot, and then the rest of the entire Summer League, he was shooting like 45, 46% from 3. So overall, a very good performance from him, and it may very well be paying off. Couple of the notes. One real quick. So I mentioned a couple of current Aggies getting some awards. The Shrine Bowl 1000, which I was trying to look up exactly what it was, but my guess is there may be 1,000 players on it. At least the number of players, because there are people saying, we got 4 players on our team and 6 players on our team that are honored in the Shrine Bowl 1000. There were 2 players from Utah State, essentially like seniors, upperclassmen, who might participate in the Shrine Bowl. Used to be senior exclusive, I think, but now I think they've kind of shifted a little bit away from that slightly.
Right.
They're not like accepting underclassmen.
No,
to it.
Juniors and seniors.
Yeah, it's meant for upperclassmen. So Spencer Petras, who's like in his 7th year in college, and Jalen Royals, who I forget exactly what season he's. I think he's a junior right now. Junior or senior, actually. I can't remember. I think he has 1 or 2 years of eligibility left. Likely going to the NFL after this season if he ends up having a good season, and deservedly so. But both of them honored by the Shrine Bowl on probably one of the biggest preseason lists in college football, which is saying a lot considering a lot of these lists are bloated anyway. But that's a couple of Aggies there. And then Bobby Wagner, number 59 on the NFL's top 100. He's been a mainstay in this top 100.
Yeah, he is a regular there. He's been on this list for a long time.
This is probably his lowest selection on there since like the early part of his career.
Yeah, but I mean the dude is he's a first ballot Hall of Fame guy.
Yeah.
You look at his body of work, all the Pro Bowls that he's been a part of, Super Bowl champion. Now he's with Washington, the Commanders, but he comes in at number 59 on the list. So he's still, even though he's a veteran NFL linebacker, but he's still very impactful and a guy that is still finding ways to impact the game, even though he was a mainstay in Seattle, went to Los Angeles for a little while, went back to Seattle, but now he's turned into a little bit of a journeyman, kind of a hired hand, but he's still proving he's very effective in the NFL.
Yeah, he's entered the twilight stage where nobody wants to actually pay him or give him a longer-term contract, so he's bouncing between a couple of spots. But, I made an offhand comment about him maybe being, washed up or not as effective, and then I realized, dude was still racking up tackles and snaps and still being an Iron Man, so I kind of preempted the, twilight stage of his career probably a year or two early because he is still an impact linebacker.
Yeah, and as you said, he keeps himself healthy. He's able to help his teams by being available and still very among the top linebackers in the league, which is awesome.
All right, we got to go to break, and hopefully I don't screw it up this time. We'll be back after this here on the Full Court Press. We'll have Pick 6.
On the familiar corner of 4th North and 1st West, Beezer Lock and Key has been keeping Cache Valley safe for 30 years. Beezer has repaired, replaced, or helped build thousands of projects in Cache Valley with secure door hardware, including locking systems, panic hardware, door closers, and more. It's always been more than simply cutting a key. Your family and business safety come first. Beezer Lock and Key knows how to provide top-notch security solutions that stand unmatched in the industry. Visit 4th North and 1st West in Logan or go to beezerlock.com to discover more.
Aggies Home Health and Hospice is your premier healthcare provider. When your loved one needs care, at home, wherever home is, allow Aggies Home Health and Hospice to help. I'm Josh Fenton, part of the Aggies team, where we customize healthcare for optimal results. Our award-winning staff brings character, experience, and trust. Contact us today and see why we were voted Best of Northern Utah. Call 435-723-9000 or visit our website at myagis.com.
You work hard. You expect your oil to do its job and work hard too. You can count on the oil you buy at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts. Valvoline Premium Blue Diesel oils are all on sale. Chevron Delo 15W40 only $15 a gallon. Even more deals on Rotella and Napa Premium oils. And hydraulic hoses made while you wait. Oils that work as hard as you do. From your locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 4th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
For more than a century, couples have shopped at S.C. Needham Jewelers. Known for a large selection of beautiful diamonds, we now have both natural and lab-grown diamonds. You are sure to find a diamond engagement ring that will fit your budget. The possibilities today are endless as you select the perfect ring. Show her you'll cherish her forever with a diamond, either natural or lab-grown, from the store where Utah gets engaged. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Imagine your wedding day. Elegant, simple, yet stunning, stress-free. It's your day. It's all about you. Whether you're looking for small and simple or have a grander idea, the Riverwoods Conference Center will accommodate your every need. Choose the inside ballroom elegance or outside along the natural decor of the beautiful Logan River. A Riverwoods event planner will work personally with you to make sure your event is exactly how you've envisioned it. The Riverwoods Conference Center, where your happily ever after begins. Google Riverwoods Conference Center or call 750-5151.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Life is good. Life at My Mattress is good too. Why might I say that? Because today is a good day to slay a Goliath. The other day I went into a mattress store here in Logan that has 2,500 stores across the country. I'd say that's a Goliath. We were 20% less expensive on every bed that we both offer. We may not have 2,500 stores, but we are number one in Cache Valley. Better product and better prices. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
The Aggies are number one here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
You work hard, expect your oil to work hard and do its job too. You can count on the oil you buy at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts. Get Valvoline Premium Diesel Oil. It's all on sale. Chevron Delo, only $15 a gallon. More deals on Rotella and Napa Premium Oils, hydraulic hoses made while you wait. Oils that work as hard as you do from your locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts locations. And Eric, we might just barely not have enough time to play the Full Court Press liner. I did all the work to try and find it, and now I realize it's like 2.5 minutes, and we only about have 2.5 minutes before the show ends. So let's really quickly get into the Pick Six.
Pick Six, yep.
I'm on, I think, a 3-week win streak. So, Erica, why don't you go first this time?
Okay. Stolen bases in the Red Sox and Yankees series, which gets underway tomorrow. 4.5. 4.5 stolen bases.
How many games is it?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I'm going to go over.
Okay, I'm going to take the under. Combined points and rebounds by the Wagner brothers. So they both play for Germany in the Olympics. They will play Japan here in the next few days. So combined points and rebounds between those two, 40.5.
I'm going to go under.
I'll take the over. And then in Olympic soccer, USA playing New Zealand over the weekend on Sunday. So USA beating New Zealand by 0.5 goals scored.
I'm going to take the over. I'll go ahead and do that. Over.
All right. I, too, will take the over.
All right. Okay, I've also got a line for Team USA women's soccer, though, as they take on Germany. Team USA goals over under 1.5.
Total goals scored?
Just the U.S.
Just by the U.S. I'll take the over.
I'll take the over as well. All right, Belgium Grand Prix. Lando Norris, a bit of a controversial end for him at the previous Grand Prix. Will he be on the podium or not? Will he take first, second, third? So I said over-under is basically 3.5.
And they're in Belgium?
Yeah, they're in Belgium. Spa-Francorchamps.
I'll take the under.
All righty. I'll take the under as well. And then Mets-Braves, total runs. I think this is their game today. Or no, Saturday. Oh, fetch, I don't know which one. Their first game of their series, over under 8.5.
Under.
All right. We're going to have to do the tiebreaker off air. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
The noise. You can say what you want about NFL owners and their impatience, but it's hard to argue it doesn't create some fascinating storylines. This year's trend looks to be the team's investment in big-name quarterbacks. After sending a historic offer in order to obtain Bryce Young, the Panthers QB is under a lot of pressure. After the team strengthened its supporting cast, Falcons made a similarly significant investment in Kirk Cousins. And with Cousins coming off injury and Atlanta drafting Michael Penix Jr., Cousins' $180 million contract is starting to look a little pricey. And then there's the Browns' Deshaun Watson. Shattered the QB market after signing a fully guaranteed $230 million deal. That has been a massive mistake so far, and it gets worse when you realize the team gave up 3 first-round picks to acquire him. All 3 quarterbacks have had substantial amounts of resources invested in them, but it's a win-now situation, and these quarterbacks are certainly on the hot seat going into this upcoming season. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.